What is going on? Welcome to 817, where we talk everything Fort Worth, politics, business, culture, you name it. What's going on, Jimmy?
How's it going, EJ?
Hey, man, I'm excited to finally have some of our first guests on the show.
I am too. We got 3 great ones today.
Yeah, we do. So basically what's going on, people, is we decided, a lot of the podcast experts say, when you start a show, have shows up there already for you guys. So even though we're going to try to do something weekly that's about the news, we wanted to give you kind of like a speaker series, if you would, of just like people who are passionate about Fort Worth and experts.
Give you something to binge on.
Yeah, exactly. And so we have Dr. Brian Dixon. I'm super excited for this. I've talked to him before. We've become kind of like friends and acquaintances, and he's a great guy. Jimmy, what are you excited about to talk to with Dr. Dixon?
Well, so Dr. Dixon, he's been featured in Fort Worth's 40 Under 40, was named one of the top doctors by both 360 West and Fort Worth Magazine. He's the owner and lead psychiatrist at Progressive Psychiatry, and he's the founder of multiple other businesses and nonprofits across Fort Worth. So I'm excited to dive in and hear his takes on COVID, the psychiatric effects that it has with people isolating for this long, and maybe offer some help for if you're feeling down, if you're feeling like you need some help right now, but want to keep isolating. Hopefully he can have some advice for you.
Dope. Let's get to it.
Awesome.
What's up, man? Long time.
It has been a long time. What is it? A year, maybe? I don't know. I've lived 3 years since the last over the last 3 months. So
yeah. So this is Jimmy.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So we're super excited to connect, man. Tell me about how's the 3 months been for you. I mean, this is your lane, like in the sense of people need to hear what you got, so.
Yeah. So the last 3 months have been really busy. So, and it just kind of depends on the facet of what I'm doing. So as an entrepreneur, it's been just basically a flat out run, flat out sprint, because when the world is falling apart around you, you have to make sure that you can still pay your employees and make sure that there's, business coming in. And so that's been interesting. And then as a physician, taking care of patients has been also a flat out run because lots of people are afraid and really scared of what's happening. And I always say that nature abhors a vacuum. So when there's a vacuum of consistent information, people just make stuff up. And as a result, you get a lot of folks who are confused and frightened. And so, so it's been a lot.
Yeah. Well, you are like officially the first person we're interviewing. Then we have Jonathan at 3, and then we just keep on moving forward. But so basically me and Jimmy, we've always text each other about the news and what's going on in Fort Worth. And we're just like, man, there's not like a cool place to bring like news or flair for young professional Fort Worth who are into podcasts, who are into the audio experience. There's nothing really strong about Tarrant County and Fort Worth. So we're like, let's connect with some of our people. And you were, I think one of like just, I remember the coffee, Sons of Liberty. And I was like, man, this guy knows Fort Worth really well. And it's just exciting to jam with you. So we're just going to jam. A lot of it will be about Fort Worth. I want to let you know also, it's going to be, all this will be posted September 1. So thinking about like, just mindset of relevance. So we're going to try to keep the questions around like pretty generic in the sense of that. But yeah, do you, one of our first questions though, we just like to know before we start would be, is there anything you're passionate about talking about Fort Worth or Tarrant County that maybe you don't get asked a lot or get talked about a lot that you're like, man, I got to get this off my chest?
The big thing, I think, is just getting better organized. I wish that I knew more people and there was more infrastructure for us to connect. Because right now it's just everybody's in their corners doing amazing things, but you just would never know it. And so I wish that the city or somebody, awesome benefactor that has the cash to spare would invest in connecting us all. So.
Yeah. So like you're saying, like Fort Worth is really like there's so many people doing amazing things, but nobody knows each other.
Correct. Yeah. And it's very strange. Like I was just talking with a local artist and musical artist, and he was like, hey, I want to do this really cool art installation. And then the only way he found me is through me being the president of the neighborhood association. Right. Well, if you don't know exactly how to find me, then we wouldn't have made that connection. So it's so strange. And so now we're like collaborating on 2 or 3 different things. So yeah, I wish that part was easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll do the first question. Then I'll let you, Jimmy, just kind of riff. But I'm interested just on your overall take about how Fort Worth has handled, Tarrant County has handled this COVID-19, the pandemic, and all that. Like, I would love to get your take on it.
Ooh, bless their hearts. So I'll be as politically correct, but also as straightforward as I can. So I think that the messaging has been mishandled from the beginning. And that's on all levels. So from the federal level down to the state level, down to the local level, down to the neighborhood level, it's been super mishandled. One of the things they teach us in medicine, the good programs in medicine teach us that if you don't know something, say it, right? There's no harm in saying you don't know something. And what we did was the exact opposite. It was, oh, don't wear a mask. And then, okay, wait, maybe wear a mask, or okay, go out, but oh, wait. And again, when you do stuff like that, people will fill in the gaps. They'll go, oh, well, that person can't be trusted, so I'll just go do whatever. And so, yeah, so I'm not very pleased with where things are headed. The good part is with social media, we can get kind of direct to consumer. So I can talk directly to people to say, hey, just wash your hands.
So for your practice specifically, what is the biggest piece of misinformation that you've had to fight against?
Yeah, the biggest piece of misinformation. Oh, that's a really great question. I think it's been that the virus isn't as big a deal as it is. So in other words, a lot of media, a lot of people have been downplaying it. And so I do a lot of teaching of, yes, you're correct. It is a virus just like the flu virus, because viruses come in different models, kind of like different types of cars. You know, you have your Lexuses and your Hyundais and the whole 9 yards. But this is one that nobody's ever experienced. And because you haven't experienced it, then your body's not going to be ready for it. And yes, that can make you sick. And since it's one big giant guessing game, then do the thing that is the safest. So wash your hands, cover your mouth, stay away from sick people. And so, yeah, so I've been having to kind of help people realize it is serious, but not to the point where you need to freak out, like, and not go out of your house. I mean, some people are like shut-ins now, and that only hurts your mental health.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess like, I feel like we were even talking about that, how we've definitely quarantined probably super hard compared to most. Like I've been out of the house twice in the sense of somewhere since March 15th. And so, and then you have like kind of the mental health piece where I think like the right, and especially with schools opening up, where people say we have to open up schools and get schools going because of kids' mental health. What is kind of, how do you moderate that conversation almost, right? As you hear both sides.
Yeah, so this is where I say we go back to science. And again, everything I'm saying now should still be universal, no matter when your listeners are hearing this podcast, is that there's some universal scientific things that you have to keep in mind. So this virus, as we know it so far, is mostly transmitted through droplets. So droplets meaning like snot and sticky, wet stuff. Yes, there's a chance that it could be that it could linger in the air, but that's not established. And so as long as you make sure that you expose yourself to the least concentration of the virus, then your immune system should take care of the rest of it. So in other words, if you wear a mask and it can catch most of the droplets if you stay 3 to 6 feet away from people, so that you expose yourself less to the droplets. If you have really good ventilation, like sitting outside, you should be okay for all intents and purposes. And then wash your damn hands, because at the end of the day, I don't know why people don't do that more. They just need to wash their hands. So yeah, so if you do those things, there's no reason to then stay in your house. You can walk your neighborhood. You can pick up trash in your neighborhood. You can go vote. You can do all the things you need to do as long as you pay attention to what you're doing.
I think that's a really helpful and insightful way to put it, because I feel like at least the messaging that I have seen is one side or the other, like open up, do whatever you want, like who cares? And then the other side is like everybody become a hermit. And especially mental health wise, like neither side of that coin is the right or perfect answer. For people that you're seeing, how, or for people that are listening that are maybe struggling with where the right place to land is, and are struggling with mental health, what advice would you give for how to put yourself in a place where you can feel safe, but also still maybe interact or get yourself out there to get healthy?
Yeah, great question. It's all about structure. So whenever I'm coaching my parents on things, so a lot of parents will come in and they'll say, I don't want to be the too strict parent, but I also don't want to be the, too easygoing parent. And I always coach them to just give structure in your day. The same is true during a pandemic when we don't have all the answers, is give yourself structure. For example, make sure you are going to bed at a reasonable time, waking up at a reasonable time, that you're eating somewhat healthy, right? You can eat bad stuff every now and again, but try not to overdo it. Try not to drink too much alcohol. So all the like basic things, so that then you feel like you have control over your day and control over your life. Because when you're in a pandemic getting mixed messages, that's the worst part for your mental health, is the unknown. So instead of fearing the unknown, create things that are known. Okay, I'm going to get up. I'm going to do this. This is my goal for the day. This is who I'm going to call. This is how I'm going to veg. This is how I'm going to, just build structure into your day. And then if you do it for your day, your friends tend to do it, your family tends to do it, your kids tend to do it, and it kind of, waves out from there. So yeah, just build structure into your day and you'll feel a lot better.
What is your thoughts from like the political side of it all, in the sense of, people will say, oh, the Democrats are wanting us all to stay indoors and, so to make this for Trump. How much do you think like that plays? Because I know people are worried about that when they look at the news and they try to decipher it. So how does politics play into the news?
Yeah, so politics plays a huge role, and I don't care which side you're on. This was a political failing. So the fact that we didn't contain the virus as quickly as we should have, yes, everybody should make sure you vote this November and hold the people to account who should have been taking care of this part. When it comes to the virus itself, man, the virus doesn't give a damn who you are. It doesn't care if you're black, white, male, female, doesn't care who you love. If you have too much exposure to it, then you're going to risk getting sick. So yes, you should definitely make sure to make your voice heard, like go out, I think the deadline to register to vote is October the 3rd, maybe. So make sure you go and register. And then hold people accountable. That's the other part. I mean, school board, local elections, state elections, federal elections. Once you vote, that's only half of your job. The other half is to pick up the phone and be like, what is going on? Yeah, because if you don't do what I voted you in to do, then you need to go. So, yeah.
So go deeper in that, in a sense of, how do you feel like we are doing as a city, keeping people accountable or advocating for ourselves? This is kind of goes into what you...
Yeah, we are not. And this is where it gets, so I don't know all the leaders personally. What I do know is that you have to lead in a time of crisis. You have to lead. So like, I'm the biggest, I'm most upset of all the people I'm upset with. So president notwithstanding, would be the Surgeon General, because here's a person who is a physician and he knows better, and he knows messaging and the importance of teaching. And he should have been on day one, an hour a day, every damn day, saying, wash your hands, don't touch your face, wash your hands, don't touch your face. Right. So I'm furious at him because he knows better. When it comes to locally, it's up to whoever's at the head. So it is absolutely up to the mayor to say, hey, guys, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're not doing. Let's let's have a conversation with everybody, right? There was a lot of, I know you have to do some stuff behind closed doors because that's how you, operationally, that's how you move things forward. But your messaging is so important. It is so, so important. And so, when you go for days at a time and not keeping people, especially when we were under stay-at-home orders, and you're not communicating, that's really bad, super, super bad. And so, I'm irritated with the local folks because, the public health commissioners could have been out speaking. I mean, it should have been an everyday fireside chat, podcasty message of, we're going to get through this together. Wash your hands. We're going to get through this together. Do this. We're going to get through this together. Don't do that. Right. But they didn't do that. It was an information void. And as a result, they need to account for that during election time next year.
So what do you think the next step for Tarrant County is? We have our mask order, I think through the end of this month, through the end of August. We're seeing cases start to stabilize. Hospitalizations are coming down to a reasonable level. Positivity rate has been really weird over the last week. What's the next step for Tarrant County and for Texas?
Yeah. So the way I see it, number one, we need to call it what it is. So we're no longer trying to contain this virus because it's out. It's out and ain't no going back. So let's get out of that mindset and let's go to more of a management mindset. So how do you decrease the risk overall, right? So we need to do that. The other thing is, I think this is one thing that the mayor and I do agree on is that public-private partnerships are where it's at. So we need to, as Fort Worth, we need to do some really creative things with, I want to go dancing at some point because I haven't been dancing in forever. I want to go out to a bar. And there are probably really creative ways of either making reservations or doing some type of screening thing so that you can be in social settings but minimize your exposure. And it's going to take creativity because it's also going to take some either ordinance or policy work, right? So if the city rule is you can't do something, well, then that's going to say, hey, you can't go to a bar. Well, then all bars are shut. Well, some bars are trying to convert to restaurants, but they're not really, so we need to have some creative solutions. And I think this is where entrepreneurs and influencers can really do some good work.
Curious to see, the reason why we started this podcast was also around what makes Tarrant County hard is also what makes it unique in Fort Worth is we are a melting pot of ideas. We don't have full group think as we're an urban metro area, but yet our politics aren't like LA, New York, where there's the majority. Everyone's we have so much the polarization, if you would, of people. So I guess how do you as a leader explore being a leader in Tarrant County? Because I also know you have very strong views with your book, with who you back, how you tweet, and you're here and you represent. And so I would just love to hear your thoughts on how do we all get together in Tarrant County and stay what we love about Fort Worth and continue to bring us through the other side and sticking to who we are.
Yeah, great question. The only way that happens is with money, right? So being a Black dude, I don't make as much money as my white counterparts. I just do not. Even though I make great money, I still don't make enough money, right? And one great thing about Fort Worth is it's very relationship heavy. It's very much kind of who you know. Well, the problem is I don't know a lot of the moneyed movers and shakers. And for me to take time away from the 3 jobs, literally, y'all, I do have 3 jobs, the 3 jobs that I'm doing, to go out and brainstorm, to iterate, to connect, to do all those things means that I have less money to run all my companies or to do what I need to do. So if there was some way, if somebody was listening and say, wait, what do I need to do? I need my time compensated for, and I need the infrastructure to pull it off. Because at the end of the day, if I had, interns, if I had employees that were solely devoted to messaging, marketing, operationalizing, emailing, building kind of a movement in Fort Worth, then we can do this, connecting podcasters with other podcasters and content managers and da-da-da-da-da. If we did that, we would be better off. But at the end of the day, I'm still a brother, and I don't make as much money as I think black men make 72 cents to the dollar that white men make. So that means I'm 28 cents in the hole every hour, every dollar that I do something. So as a result, I'm not going to be, I can't swoop in and do a whole lot because I don't have the financial excess, or I don't have the financial cushion that some of my white brethren have. So just to keep it real, is one of those things at the end of the day, it comes down to money.
What do you think that movement would look like? Like if let's say somebody was like, I'm going to give you as much money as you need to make this happen. What are like the first 2 or 3 things that you would do with that?
Yeah. So the very first thing is marketing, I think, is the most important thing. So you hire a really good marketing agency. Luckily, Fort Worth has a lot where you can do a lot of kind of brand ambassadors and connecting through social media, because people are on Instagram, Facebook, all the major social media platforms, right? So people have to know that you're there in order for the good stuff to come out. So that's number one. Number two, you have to make sure that people actually have the ability to connect. So I know I'm on Zoom. I can afford really good Wi-Fi. I have a really good computer. Some people do not. And so we need to make sure that we cross that gap. So there are Black creators in Fort Worth who don't have those things, and they don't have websites. So, I pay $1,000 a month for my personal website. Just to keep it running, to keep it fresh, to keep the animations going. I mean, a lot of people don't have that bandwidth. And so that's where a lot of the money would go, kind of that infrastructure, that operational infrastructure on the front end. And then we spend the rest of the money making sure to compensate the time of the people who are, either volunteering or creating content. Content creation is hard and costly. And to expect people, especially entrepreneurs, to do that on the front end out of the goodness of their heart is just, I don't think that's fair. And so, if we can't meet in the country club or the city club or the Fort Worth club or any of the clubs like we used to make these connections, then we need to build a new way of connecting. And it's going to be costly up front, but I think Fort Worth can do it.
Yeah, I asked you about how do you think we handled COVID-19. Something that's been a longer issue in Fort Worth is how we handle race. And but now that it's in the front of attention we had protesting, we had Black Lives Matter really come alive with our young people. And then also we had a vote where we had to vote for our police. And what do we want to do there? So I'm really interested in, and also someone who lives in the historic South Side that is usually canceled from opportunity, access, money, resources. What's your kind of call for even just listeners to the podcast or people who talk to you who maybe don't even experience this side of Fort Worth and allow this inclusion from race to be having that inclusion in economics, success, opportunity, leadership, influence? I would love to know how you feel like we're doing.
That's a huge question. So I'll try to.
You can
break it down.
You can go as long as you.
Yeah.
I was trying to. What I've seen is like the time go, and I'm like, okay, I got to get this big question out, and then I'm gonna let you drive home whatever you want to drive home. So.
Gotcha. So I'll kind of do 2 big, huge points. So when it comes to race, so I think Fort Worth is poised to be a leader in national discussions on race. Because, I mean, me personally, I haven't had run-ins with racism like some of my Black friends and family have here in Fort Worth. And I'm a big believer in making connections, community connections, and I think it's worth it. So I think that we could do some really good work. It is going to take investment and support from the city. But more importantly, we just need money, because at the end of the day, to host what we need to host and involve the people that we need to involve, it's a capital intensive project. So So I will say that part, and that's regardless of if you're Republican or Democrat, liberal or conservative. If race is all about money, it is. Now, that's how those quote unquote founding fathers made their money, is off the backs of Black people, right? And it's an economic issue, and that those economics have been propagated through centuries, either through slavery itself, Jim Crow laws, down through the civil rights, and now it's in it's in redlining, it's in gerrymandering. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So if people are truly interested in fixing that part, we need to put our money where our mouth is. Now, when it comes to the police, so this is very fascinating because I actually have lots of connections with police officers who are wonderful people. And we're actually working on a couple different collaborations, both me as a private citizen, me as a community leader, with the police, Fort Worth PD. And again, it's so funny. You sit with them individually and they are actually very reasonable folks. I am not a huge fan of the Fort Worth Police Officers Association. I do not care for their politics. I cannot believe the shit that they pull. Honestly, it's the stuff that they post. They are not diverse. It's bad. It's like super bad. And the fact that they give money directly to city council candidates is a huge problem, a huge problem. I'm all about First Amendment rights, but that does not mean that you should not be held accountable for what you say. So, yeah, I would, I don't know, we need to do something about that particular thing. And I find it interesting that there's a Fort Worth Police Officers Association, and then a Fort Worth Black Police Officers Association, and then a Fort Worth Latino Police Officers Association. So I think that's interesting. So the last part I'll say is about the CCPD thing. Mm-hmm. So we as a neighborhood association did not support passing of the most recent proposition. And it wasn't because we don't want our cops to our police officers to not have funding. It's not because we don't want them to have the latest tech or cars, because we want to keep them safe. We want to be safe. We know that in today's age, the only way you get somebody's attention is you threaten their money. Mm-hmm. And when you threaten their money, they'll pay attention to you. So then we can have discussions about where that money goes. So that's the key. So we support our police officers. I have a brother that's a police officer. So I support the blue, but we need to make sure that the blue is accountable. And like I said, that officers association is a whole different thing. I don't even consider them to be Fort Worth PD. In my mind, I separate those two things completely, because I do support our officers. So does that make any sense?
Yeah, I really appreciate what you said, specifically around, like, we want to keep our police officers safe. When Black Lives Matter first started really taking off, the term defund the police became a very hot button thing that people didn't understand or seek to understand. So you started to talk about it a little bit at the end, but talk more to what that would look like for Fort Worth. Where could that money go?
Yeah, so it's an interesting exercise in social correction. So, because when I first saw defund the police on Twitter, I was like, are y'all kidding? That doesn't make any sense. So, because you don't, police officers are employees, and as an employee, you can be fired, right? So we're in an at-will state. That's how the law works. Well, the rate limiting step is this thing called the Fort Worth Police Officers Association, right? They're a union, and I respect unions when they're working in the best interests of not only the people that they're working for, but also the people that they're serving. The problem is, in this case, as I understand it, the union has lots of things about it that are not open or flexible or helpful to folks. And so I think what happened is the messaging. So again, remember how I said you have to pay for really good marketing? Good marketers know how to craft a message, and that stuff does not just happen out of the air. You sit and you do focus groups. Well, the folks on Twitter are not a well-oiled marketing machine. And so when they said defund the police, your automatic brain reaction is to release a lot of dopamine and go, wow, yeah, that sounds great. And of course, then that propagates and goes viral. And then that's the exact opposite message, because it's all emotional and and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, so that, I think all of that got caught up between the emotion of the moment plus the real message, which is please stop shooting Black people.
Yeah.
Just stop.
Yeah.
Plus, hey, the police officers, we have a, 10-cent tax or whatever it is to make sure that we're keeping our officers equipped. And so all of those things got really confused. And of course, in a world where everybody is right and everybody is an expert and everybody knows everything, we don't tend to listen. We just keep talking. And so I'm hopeful now that people will spend more time listening to this podcast and stop talking so damn much.
Love it. Now I'm just curious. This will be the last question, and then let you do your thing. And again, thank you so much for being on it. Can't wait to come together and just like have a beer, hang out, and just really talk more about all the stuff you're doing. I know we're both really busy, but we hit it off first time, and I think it's getting to connect would be awesome. But I'm just curious. This is my last question is around Texas is purple right now. And Tarrant County plays a big part in that. What is your predictions? How do you feel? Do you feel like there's a legit shot? I'll just leave it there.
Yeah. So I've made it very clear that I'm not a fan of this president, and it's actually not about his politics. I do not condone bullying in any form or any fashion. And to me, he is a bully. I have lots of conservative friends who talk about, privatization of Social Security, who talk about privatization in charter schools. We can have really robust conversations, and there are lots of ideas that I could probably be considered conservative or liberal. Or not liberal, libertarian. So I throw out to you that, yes, I think Tarrant will probably go purple/blue. And it's because at the end of the day, people in Texas don't like bullying, and they don't like people being taken advantage of. And as of right now, he's taken advantage of the Republican political infrastructure that has been in place for a really long time. And so I think you're going to see a lot of people tentatively and very quietly switch I wouldn't say switch parties. They're just going to vote for the other guy, Joe Biden, because they cannot condone bullying. And I support that. I think in Texas now we don't have that full ticket thing. I know the president and the VP go together, but, so they can vote for other Republicans if they want to. But I think that they're going to do the right thing and say, we don't condone bullying. We do condone respect. We do condone public health. We do condone making sure that people can pay their bills on time. We do condone those things. And so my prediction is that November 3rd, we're going to have a new president so that we can start healing the country and get back to what makes us the greatest country in the world.
Love it. Yeah. I just wanted to get your take on it, because we were talking about Kamala, the VP choice, and that process. So I was just like, oh, Brian would be great to also hear his intake here. Well, we're good, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate your time. We appreciate your wisdom. And I hope that people listening really glean some really good information out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. And then I wore my awesome shirt for this. So racism. So, if y'all need me, let me know. I'm always around.
Sorry. Yeah, we were talking about that. I was like, I feel like if there's anything ever going on, we could always go back to Brian around it and get your takes on it.
I'm always around, dudes. You just let me know.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome, brother.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
That was Dr. Brian Dixon, and he did his thing. That was a great first kind of interview for us.
Yeah, I think that was amazing. He really just has a good way of breaking things down that doesn't feel political. It just feels like this is me as a doctor coming forth and saying, this is what you need to know. Like, this is how you can be safe. This is also how you can live with good mental health right now. I think that was a lot of really good information for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what was so impressive by him, you can tell that he's navigated communicating in Fort Worth as a leader for a very long time. Like you can just tell how he worked the questions and his answers. So I felt like I learned a lot even as well just watching him.
Definitely.
Lead the meeting. So awesome work.
We'll see you next time.